touching on these 4 things, 3 of them more in depth, right? Culture, self-care, soothing, and celebratory. This has been like the most liberating 25 minutes around food that I think I've had.
Wow.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
Because again, standard nutrition coaching doesn't approach it like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is so fantastic. And these are some amazing principles that really can free someone up when they want to have a better practice around the way they eat and fuel their body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Initially, I totally derailed it because you said some super cool things that I wanted to touch on. But you wanted it to initially have a conversation on some of the quote unquote basics around nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those basics? Where would we start that conversation?
I usually start, and I tell the story of macronutrients. And the story is very personal to me because when I first started to work out in CrossFit, and those of you guys not familiar with CrossFit, you know, there's words that people would use. I didn't know what they meant. There's a word called AMRAP. It's like, what the heck is that?
Did one this morning.
Yes. And so there's a funny story with that too. Like I would see people with a gym bag, like a bag. And I'd be like, what's in the bag? Why do you need a bag? And eventually I got a bag. It was full of stuff. But when I was first in CrossFit and thinking a little bit about nutrition, at the time, my thoughts about nutrition when I first started to really get serious about working out was, what do I want to look like? I want to look like her, not her. Mm-hmm. I want to look like, that guy looks great. I want to look like that. You know, it was all aesthetic. And I heard people say, I can't eat that. It's going to mess up my macros. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, what the heck is macros? Just like, what's in your gym bag? And so I had no idea what macros were. But my thought was, it's something you can really mess up. So right away, I had this like, ooh, that's upper tier stuff. And that's stuff that you better watch out. You better not ever mess up your macros. Don't mess them up. So I was haunted by that for a while. And you got to remember, when I started, I was timid and afraid, and I didn't want anybody to know that I didn't know anything. And so I had so many questions that I never asked. And eventually they got answered because I did eventually ask them, or I became a nutrition coach. And I learned what macronutrients were. So I always want to tell people, one, don't be afraid if there's a word that I say or you hear that you've never heard. It doesn't mean you're good or bad or that you know any more or less than the average person. It just means that word has gotten a term that you haven't been introduced yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So macronutrients is just basic stuff, are those food groups that we need to have every time we eat, specifically protein, carbs, and fats. Now I'm going to add veggies. Doesn't fall under the umbrella of categories, but we always want to have veggies. So there's 4 food groups that I want you to think about when you're eating. In fact, I present this a lot of times to my clients. It's like, I'm giving you a new lens to look through when you start to look at your food and think about, am I having these food groups every time I eat? So I'll present kind of the concept of macronutrients. And then most people tell me one of their biggest struggles is, I don't know what to eat or how much to eat. Mm-hmm. And so there's such a simple way that is so gentle and so self-loving that I teach, that all my clients use, that I use to this day. And I want to back up a little bit. And the reason I teach the way I do is because I've been on the other end of the spectrum. I've been in the form of an eating disorder. I have been controlled and in a huge amount of unhappiness and bondage by weighing and measuring my food on a food scale. I think I've mentioned this. By tracking everything in an app on my phone, and by very much being controlled by these external things. And at the time, if you saw me, you might have been like, wow, she's really healthy and fit. Internally, I was just on this hamster wheel of, you better not mess up. You better not mess up your macros, and like if the app at the end of the day, I closed the wheel and the pie graph matched what it was supposed to, I was a good person.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't, I was failed. I failed that day, and I was not as good of a person. And so when I tell people the method I use, it's the method I still use to this day. When I stopped tracking and weighing, measure my food, I really thought I was going to blow up and just become a very large obese person. That never happened. In fact, nothing really changed.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I teach people how to use their hand as a guide for your macronutrients. And you've probably heard this maybe, Brendon. Some people have heard this concept, but if you've had, I always like to review it. And the reason I like to use your hand is because, like, if you guys can't see me, I'm holding up my hand. My hand is my size, matches me. Your hand is your size. And it's always with you. I don't have to have a scale. I just got to have my hands, and I have them right here in front of me all the time, right? And so the thing that I always start with is females, when we're talking about using a hand as a guide, you're going to use one hand. Males, you're going to use two. And it's always like, it's a bummer. But males are just generally require more muscle, require more calories, more food because you have more muscle mass. They're just in general bigger than a female. And so it's just a guide. So I'm going to use one hand when I'm holding up. If you can see me, males, you're going to use two. So every time you eat, we need that number one macronutrient, which is protein. Mm-hmm. We need it to be the size of your palm. I was kind of introduced to this concept, like maybe I heard years ago, like, a chicken breast should be the size of a deck of cards. That's the same concept. I've
heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Same concept as your palm, right? Now, when I'm talking protein, I'm talking if you have no dietary restrictions or no convictions about eating, this would be lean cuts of beef, chicken, fish, kind of your normal thoughts of protein, right? Mm-hmm. This would also be eggs. If you don't have an allergy to eggs, people will say, well, how many eggs is that? And this is like 3 eggs. And it's a lot of my female clients are like, what the heck? That's a lot of eggs. I have 1 egg. And I was like, that's great. Let's have 1 whole egg and 2 egg whites.
Egg whites, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of my clients will buy like a carton of egg whites, or I personally just separate the eggs.
Yeah,
and get
my
rid
wife
of
and I have a carton of egg whites in the fridge.
Yeah,
we use that often.
Yeah, so your wife, if she were going to have breakfast, she could have 1 whole egg and then 2 egg whites, according to the carton, right?
That sounds about right, actually.
Yeah. Okay, and then you could have two whole eggs, right? Mm-hmm. And then 4 egg whites. That's a lot. But I like to tell my clients, like, to me, egg whites are this little secret trick for protein because they're not that expensive and they're not that filling. You're not like, I just had too many egg whites. Not like a steak or something, and they're going to pretty much take on the flavor that you mix them with, right? It's almost like tofu, right? It's not a big flavored sucker. So this is also eggs. This is, if you're tolerant of dairy, this would be like a Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt's got this would be like a cup of Greek yogurt. So I tell my clients, if you love yogurt, go for it. I just want to encourage you to buy like the plain, unflavored, add your own fruit, add your own like local honey. If you're going to buy yogurt and it's already pre-mixed with fruit, it's got a lot of sugar and stuff you don't even need. So this would be kind of like your yogurts, your forms of dairy. If you're vegetarian, this could be beans and rice. This could be tofu or tempeh, some other things forms. So females, 1 palm. Males too. Now people will be like, I want to go order a steak. How many ounces is this? This is like 4 ounces. So, I mean, a male, you could have up to like 8 ounces. That's a lot. I would say let's go 4 to 6 ounces of like a lean cut of beef if you're looking at in the ounces department. And when I explain this to some of my clients, they're like, I got it. And they'll come back and they're like, okay, I had a palm of protein today. And I'm, the whole day? They're like, yes. And I'm like, no, every time you eat.
All day?
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Well,
all day? That's all you had?
Because I guarantee you, everybody's under eating. And I always feel like I'm like the fairy godmother. Like, I get to tell you, you can eat way more than you think you can.
Especially when it comes to
Protein.
Yes. Yeah. That no one, very few people get enough protein,
yes.
especially if they're active.
Yes.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
I'll have nutrition classes and I inevitably get asked, like, what's your number one tip? And I'm like, protein. Protein is key. Protein is key. Yeah. And maybe you've heard the statistic. I think it's after the age of 35, we start to lose 3% of our muscle mass every year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not consciously replacing that with enough protein and some weight resistance training, you're literally losing muscle mass by the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's protein. Yeah.
Yep. I was going to say that's massive in the aging process.
It is.
If you want to remain capable and independent as you age, you absolutely positively have to maintain as much muscle mass and strength as possible.
Yes.
What's the there's basic acts of living like test. Like here are the 10 things you need to do independently. Anyway, but yeah, it's like prepare for those now, not only in the way that you move and exercise, but especially in the way you feel your body so you can maintain that strength and ability. Yeah, totally.
I think most of my female clients will tell me, I want to get toned. Toned is a great word, but what you're telling me is I want more lean muscle mass. That's tone. That comes directly from protein. Enough adequate. And then I can't stress enough some type of resistance training. Weights.
Yep.
So palm, we go back to our hand. Palm size of protein. If I cup my hands like this, like put everything together, give me a little cup. This is your carbohydrates. Now I grew up, I say grew up, I was already grown. But most of my life, and I probably alluded to this, carbohydrates were evil, horrible, bad things.
Yes. Oh yeah.
They were to be feared.
Carbs are bad.
Yeah. Not true at all. Again, I get to be the fairy godmother. Carbs are not bad. but we do want to make the smartest choice for our carbs. And again, someone's like, well, how much is that? This is like 3/4 of a cup to a cup. So a male, you could have a cup to cup and a half to 2 cups of carbohydrates. A female, 3/4 of a cup to a cup. Now I tell people, and you've probably heard this little adage, when you grocery shop, to shop the perimeter of a grocery store. Those are your fresh foods, right? Usually your foods that have a lot of preservatives are in those middle aisles. So let's think about a carbohydrate that's on the perimeter is potatoes. I also was afraid of potatoes. And then when I started to eat them, I was like, I can only eat sweet potatoes. No other type, right? No other type of potato is accepted. That's not true either. That's not true.
Yes.
The nutrient value is not as important as that it is a carbohydrate. And I don't want you to eat sweet potatoes if you don't like them. I would hate to tell somebody how to eat if it's not what they enjoy, right? So
it goes back to your points of soothing and self-care and celebration.
Yeah. And I think I may have mentioned that is purposely why I'm not a dietitian, because I did not want to be in the profession that prescribed a diet to someone. I wanted someone to have that freedom and that autonomy to choose food that felt good to them, that they enjoyed.
Huge difference between those two things.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I love those little baby, I call them peewee potatoes.
Like fingerling?
Yeah, fingerling's good. I think those are longer.
A little longer, yeah.
Yeah, these are just little round. And the reason I like them, because they get real fluffy on the inside, kind of like a little French fry. So I will take a big batch of those and cook them for the week and have out a little scoop. Again, sometimes I like sweet potatoes. Sometimes this is half of a small baked potato. So a male, you could have like a whole baked potato. This is also rice. Now, rice was a big forbidden no-no. But it's totally acceptable. And again, it depends on, do you like white rice? Go for it. If you like brown,
white rice.
Awesome. But I was only told only brown rice.
I've heard that too. Yep.
Okay. There is some differences as far as the fiber and stuff in a brown, but it's not as important as this is your rice. This is your carb for the day or for the meal that is healthy. This is also bread. Now, a lot of my clients don't tolerate gluten well, but if you do, this would be one slice of bread. So female, go for it. You want a sandwich? I just want you to use one slice and then fold it in half, right? Male, we could use 2 slices of bread and make kind of a traditional sandwich. This is also like pastas and things like that. Quinoa actually has a lot of protein. It's a great little double header.
Yeah.
That's the right word.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to choose pasta, I would say if you like the traditional pasta, okay, but you could also try some of those pastas that are a little more healthy, like chickpea pasta or lentil pasta. I know there's some brands out there. Okay, I'm going to say a brand, surely, just because we're in different states, we have the same brands. Have you heard of Dave's Killer Bread?
Yes.
Oh, that's the bread of breads. If you're okay with gluten, because Dave's Killer Bread has lower sugar, higher protein than most any other bread that's going to be on the shelf. And here in Texas, where I live, it's readily available at almost every grocery store. I know you can get it on Amazon. You know, there's also some great gluten-free breads out there too, like Ezekiel bread, some things like that. So you could still enjoy that form of a carbohydrate. So every time we eat, we need a protein, palm size, carbohydrate here. And then when I make up this, I'm going to go veggies. Crazy. You can have multiple fists of veggies. They're nutrient dense, they're filling, they're full of fiber. And again, this is all personal preference. Right? And then again, this is about a cup. I'm going to say cup, 2 cups. I think this is a Southern thing, okra. Do you know what that is?
I do. I
know it's weird. I bake it. It's not slimy. I bake it.
I was going to say it's slimy, but
it's not the way So okra is usually my number one, like, go-to for lunch. This is personal preference. Maybe you like broccoli. Maybe you like zucchini and squash. Maybe you like a lot of mushrooms and tomatoes mixed with spinach, salad. And I'll explain this, and some of my clients are like, even at breakfast? I'm like, even at breakfast? We can get there. It takes a while to get there. Green beans. It does. That's what I just had. I know this sounds odd. I usually have green beans in the morning with my eggs because they're very mild and I enjoy them.
That's a good point. They are.
Yeah, they're real mild. They're not a strong veggie. So veggies every time you eat, again, they're so filling. I know I want to remind you that I don't want these veggies like fried, if possible, or doused in tons of butters and things like that. In a method of baking or sauteing lightly with some oils and things like that. So we always want to have veggies every time we eat. Fist for female, 2 for male. Now, thumb, smallest part of our hand, it's our fats. So we do need healthy fats every time we eat. Males, 2 thumbs, females, 1 thumb. In reference, this is like a tablespoon. So these would be your oils that you cook in. And I'm only going to suggest the oils of olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, nothing like vegetable oil or soybean oil, just high quality oils. I think most of us know to kind of choose those. This could be butter, right? Even grass-fed butter or ghee. So we can have, this is also like nut butters, like a tablespoon of almond butter. Tablespoon. I see a smirk or something.
I am smirking. I adore peanut butter.
Yeah.
There's not a chance this side of hell that I'll only have a thumb's worth of peanut butter.
What about 2 thumbs for you?
I need like 2 palms of peanut butter on my peanut butter sandwiches. I love peanut butter.
I love almond butter. You like almond butter? Way better.
I've had it once or twice. It's just there's something about peanut butter.
Okay.
Maybe it's a soothing thing for me.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what? I think almond butter is like classy.
Oh, it is. I am not bougie in the slightest.
Do you like it crunchy or whatever with those peanuts?
I don't mind crunchy, but I usually eat smooth.
Smooth, yeah, smooth. Yeah. Okay, so this is your nut butters. Sorry, wah wah. Okay.
Boo.
This is peanut gallery. This is also nuts. Let's say you have like a tablespoon of almonds, 2 tablespoons. Sadly, this is cheese. I have many clients who are like, "Wow, I had a high protein snack. I had nuts and cheese." like, oh, there is protein, but the main macronutrient of those things are fat.
Yeah.
So not that we can't have cheese. We're just going to use it sparingly, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to have a palm of cheese. It's cheese. This is avocado. Love avocado. What a great fat. This is half of a small avocado for a female. Male, you could have like small to medium avocado with a meal. So knowing those 4 little food groups and using your hand, I've literally given you a tool that you can use your entire life.
Absolutely.
And you could teach it to your kids. You could teach it to your friends. If you're a female, you could teach it to a male. Mm-hmm. So it's like so simple, but so profound. And most of nutrition is like that. It's simple.
Yes.
But profound.
Yes.
So when I explain this to anybody, I always say like, okay, you ready for a test? You ready for a test?
Okay, let's do it.
I point. Even though if you can't see me, I'm going to point and you name the food group.
Palm. She's pointing to her palm. That's protein.
Perfect.
She's cupping her hand. That is carbohydrates.
I feel like I'm blindfolded. You're blindfolded or something.
Well, I know.
This is good.
If you're watching us on YouTube, this is easy. If you're listening to us in your car, you don't. So she cupped her hand. That's carbohydrates, like my rices and things like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Fist. That's veggies.
Yes. Multiple fists. Go for it.
All the fists you want.
Yeah. Filling in a good way. And then?
She's giving me the thumbs up. And that's fats. With the exception of peanut butter, you can have as much peanut butter as you want.
Yeah.
You can have my peanut butter when you pry it from my cold, dead fingers.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is good. So let's put you on the spot.
Oh, no. Okay, let's do it.
What's the ingredients in your peanut butter?
So, is
it Jiffy?
Peanuts. Yes, it's Jif. It's peanuts, sugar, oil. It is not like for a while. We would actually like try to make our own. We would actually blend peanuts, sparingly adding oil.
Wow.
That's a little like labor intensive.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to call it a guilty pleasure. I adore my peanut butter.
That's your soothing.
It is my soothing. It's my breakfast. I will have peanut butter on a muffin, like an English muffin, not like a pastry muffin. Mm-hmm. That's my breakfast with my. I will I will sometimes make eggs. Mm-hmm. We make eggs a lot in this house.
Yeah.
And with my cup of black coffee, that's how I get my day started.
Do you have a protein shake with that?
No, I don't. Not in the morning.
So what you just described to me was a carbohydrate and a fat.
Yes.
You got no protein.
I'm missing the protein. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. And again, if you're not watching on YouTube, you should go watch us on YouTube because she goes, what you just described to me is your carbohydrate. And she cupped her hands. That's my muffin. Mm-hmm. And fat. She gave me her middle finger. No, I'm just kidding. The thumb. And she's like, but where's your protein? And she pointed at her palm. Again, just demonstrating how convenient and easy it is to use that tool to break down and assess my breakfast. And that took all of 25 seconds?
Right.
Yeah. So protein shake with that, or my 2 palms of eggs, right?
Or a Greek yogurt.
We do like Greek yogurt. That's out in the fridge. That's like later in the day. I don't know why I don't have yogurt for breakfast more often. But you've just see, my wife is so good at this. So my wife will, it's either like the Greek yogurt with her cut up fresh veggies, and she might even sprinkle some granola, like just plain granola on top.
Yes.
And she's like really, really good at that. Or she will do an egg and egg whites. And then she'll have some veggies with that. So like my wife's massively good at her breakfasts. Massively good. So.
Yeah. And the good thing about protein, that we talked about, not only is it going to build and maintain your muscle mass, but it's going to keep you fuller longer.
Yes.
And if a client comes to me and they're like, I'm really hungry in between meals, my first thought is, number 1, are you having protein when you've had that meal? Number 2, have you had enough fat? Those 2 things will keep you feel full and satisfied. And I want to go back, you have a thought, and I was like, wait, what was that thought? I just got it.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so this refers back to me and food being more than food, and when I mentioned veggies. So I know veggies is not incorporated in a lot of people's thoughts. It kind of gets pushed to the side, but I think the practice that I do and that I encourage my clients to do is when you're shopping for veggies, to really let yourself feel and know what you're craving and what looks good. And here's how I do it. Before I shop, and usually every time I walk in any grocery store, the veggies are right there. You walk in, usually fresh veggies and fruits.
Produce is right there, yeah.
So I turn my car off, I pause, take a couple of deep breaths, and just try to become present in my body and tell my body, I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to listen to what you tell me feels good for my veggies today. So when I walk into the store, there are some days when I want mushrooms so badly, like, wow, I can't wait to saute those.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I must need some vitamin D. There are some days when I'm like, I don't even want to smell a mushroom cooking, right?
Yep.
One day I was on a leeks, leeks, those long onions. I'm like, I'm on a leek kick. I don't know what it is. And they're big and gnarly. I'm like, man, those look good. Some days I'll pick raw broccoli, which is rare. But I'm like, that sounds so good in my salad this week.
Yes, I love raw broccoli in my salad. So absolutely love it.
So I don't think we give ourselves the credit our bodies are always communicating and talking to us. And so having that little pause and moment and just letting yourself look without the intention of, I'm going to buy this, just open yourself up in the veggie section. Open your heart up a little and see what speaks to you. Yeah.
That is so good because, like you said, our body has a very unique way of self-regulating and telling us what it needs. Mm-hmm. Your point about the mushrooms was like bang on. Like, I really must need vitamin D. Mm-hmm. That's why my body's craving it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same with red meat. Like I do like hamburger. Yeah. Some weeks I'm like, not this week. I just know I'm not doing it this week. So yeah, mm-hmm. That goes back to my body, my truth that I believe that your body always tells the truth. We just need to listen, and listening is hard, but I think that's a great little first step. What looks good in the veggie section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Those are my basics. That's where I like to start. It's from there you can build and work and
that honestly, like, and tell me if you think different. I'm sure there's plenty of like little nuance and little like tweaks we can do, but by and large, if you did nothing more than the basics you've described and carry with you the principles that you laid out at the very beginning of being free to use food for self-care, for soothing, for celebration, and celebrate your culture too. You could be nutritionally set for a very, very long time and be metabolically very healthy.
Yes.
If you did nothing more than just what we laid out.
Right.
This part. Totally agree. I love the hand method combined with those principles we talked about earlier before that kind of demystified and took some of the demonization out of certain foods. A statement I heard recently that I read that really resounded with me that I think in a sense you've reinforced today. The statement is this: how much you eat is less important, or excuse me, how much you eat is more important than what you eat. The point was this, and I sent you the book. I'm reading Outlive, and it's I'm gonna mispronounce his last name, Peter Attia. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced your name. I apologize. But he that was his statement. I'm paraphrasing. That was his statement. How much you eat is more important than what you eat. He told the story in that book about how he tried to go vegan. and he actually gained weight
Wow.
because he ate vegan foods, but he
Yeah.
ate too much.
To fill himself up with it.
Yeah. But he
Uh-huh.
ate way too much.
Uh-huh.
And he sources plenty of very good research. As long as you're not slamming yourself with the standard American diet, that sad diet, it really is much more about how much we eat. And that hand method, or for the guys, 2 hands, I can't imagine it being any more simple. You don't have to download an app on your phone.
Right.
You don't need an advanced degree.
No.
And especially the point you made that your hand is pretty proportionate to your body, so you don't have to worry about measuring or weighing.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is really, really brilliant. I'll go back to the word liberating. It is incredibly liberating.
Good. Yeah.
Because, and maybe it's in the age of social media, but I'm willing to bet it goes back even further than that. People usually say at parties, don't discuss religion or politics. Anything else you could discuss, it's fine. I put nutrition in that category.
Yes.
Don't discuss religion, politics, or nutrition because people can be so dogmatic. And a lot of the information we have is just not grounded in even reasonable science.
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you so much for liberating that.
Oh, good.
Go
I'm
ahead.
glad. No, I ask, usually the first thing I ask all my clients is, what's your biggest nutritional challenge? And number one answer I hear is misinformation. I don't know what's true, what's not true.
Yeah.
The fad, the pills.
Yep. So true.
And I feel like this is tried and true. This isn't like hoo-hoo. This isn't going to change.
Nope. It is not.
Yeah.
It is not. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Jennie, this was fantastic. And this is, I think, some of the most, again, liberating, some of the most simple, and some of the most profound nutrition coaching that I think I've had. And being in this industry as a professional and as a gym owner for a decade now, I've seen and heard a lot. This is really, really fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
If people want more, if they want more, do you take clients? Do you have room to work with some people one-on-one, or how do you work with people, and how could people reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. My favorite is working one-on-one with people. And so I definitely have room for clients. But first of all, I before we even, if you're like, yeah, I'm interested in talking to Jennie, I love to talk to you. I can talk to you for we can set aside 20, 30 minutes and have just a nice phone conversation or Zoom about what you need and what I offer, and see if we're a good match. If that's something that feels like we want to move forward, definitely we can do that. If I can't help you, I have tons of sources that I know I could tell you about other coaches or other, group coaching situations. But definitely I work one-on-one. My website is firebirdcoaching.net. You can send me a little email and we could connect that way. But first of all, let's just start with a conversation. Let me, get to know you, maybe your goals, and see if it would be a good match for sure.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This was awesome. This was a banger. This is really, really good.
I'm glad.
Yeah. I am going to go eat before my softball game, and I'm going to use both hands.
Protein. Heck yeah.
I'm going to use both hands to make sure I'm getting enough of the right kinds of foods. So, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jennie.
Of course.
Have a fantastic weekend.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye.